The way you post and the way that you share is a vote for the world you're creating. Do you want that world to be more nourishing, more nutritious if you're a chef, more compassionate, more real, more more in general, connecting with others instead of siloed and competing with each other? You have the opportunity to change that by voting in the way that you post. Being limitless is knowing your success and your growth are built on a radical belief in yourself. Limitless is honoring your purpose, your health, and impact above all else. Limitless is never playing small, because the more alive you feel in your life, the more growth and success you attract. Hi, my name is Jamie Ratterman, and I am a holistic business coach, meaning I am just as invested in growing your health as I am in growing your wealth. With 11 plus years in brand and social media marketing, I help rebellious entrepreneurs master marketing, embody leadership, and say fuck it to the hustle. This show is here to encourage you to become more radically aware of your self-imposed limits, to break free of your shoulds, and to expand your brand into a movement led by you. Hello, lovelies. Welcome to episode 48 of the Limitless Podcast. It has been a week over here. At the time of this recording, I have posted more on social media than I ever have. I went live, I created reels, did carousels. I was hopping over on TikTok for a series. I was all up in the LinkedIn, and I can tell you that it's been a really empowering week, but it's also kind of like I'm dusting off the cobwebs to what I used to do, and a little tiring as well. So it's been an experience, but either way, the biggest part of kind of why I'm sharing this is that I just realized how much fun it is to come back to sharing more than I'm scrolling. And that is exactly what this episode is going to be all about. I want to talk about what it means to have a healthy internet diet. Now, I know that it's important. I'm going to make sure that you understand exactly what that means. But I want to share 3 lines here that I've seen all over the internet in different ways that I think is a good way to kind of set the tone of what we're about to get into. So let's start here. Most people scroll more than they share. Most people spend time comparing more than they're building. And most people spend more time making plans than taking action. So this is the episode where we go from being a person who consumes content to being more of a creator, and being able to know that we get to design how we use it, how we're using the internet, how we're using social media. This is that episode. So in this season of life, if any of those statements, that you scroll more than you share, that you spend more time comparing than building, that you spend more time planning than taking action, if this is the season of life that represents you, it's time to take a look at your internet diet. So instead of talking about all the things you need to cut out or eliminate, today's episode is how we are determined to build a method of using social media and the internet for good, that we feel good. So this is where my health coaching is going to come in. It's going to be loud and proud on this episode, is that this is where we get to start. So take a look at, as a metaphor here, your relationship to food. And instead of deciding this food is good, this food is bad, lean into what makes you feel good before, during, and after when you're eating or having a meal. That's how we're going to structure a diet around what you want to eat. So this is where you're not chastising yourself or feeling bad about anything I'm about to share, but being able to say, okay, this is a time to get reflexive about what actually makes me feel good. So for many of you, to feel better in the way that you're eating might be that you have a diet of fruits, vegetables, good proteins, and an intentional indulgence of your favorite dessert or favorite pasta. For some reason, that's sounding delicious right now, like a shrimp pasta spice. Okay, I digress. Anyway, but this is how we're going to take a look at social media and the internet for you. So let's switch this up. So how can you create a feel-good social media and internet diet? So that a feel-good social media diet would likely look like sharing your creative and honest perspective of the world, sharing, right? Or sharing your story and connecting with community because of it. celebrating the people in your feed and in your life on a regular basis. So it's something that you not only share, but you also pep people up who are in your feed on a regular basis. And then of course that intentional indulgence of doing some scrolling for simple entertainment or inspiration. All of that could be a really good feel good social media diet. Well, that sounds amazing. I'm sure all of you are listening going, yeah, sounds good, Jane, but it also sounds really disciplined and it's really hard to do. And all the algorithm is going to keep me on there longer than I need to be. All of those things I'm sure are coming into your mind as I share that. But I know that the reality and temptation creeps in here. So you more likely thought how you get into scrolling Instagram and TikTok in a mindless way, thanks to the fact that it's engineered to keep you that way. Or we've actually started to use social media as a coping mechanism instead of something that we do and get to spend time on, right? For any of you who are feeling heavy stressed and find themselves doing the long scroll on the Reels feed, I am with you. I've been there. But also we using this disguise for perfectionism to stop sharing ourselves online or sharing with the world. Also feeling overwhelmed or triggered by how others are sharing parts of themselves and how you wish you could too. Or even with all of this, feeling really guilty when you realize all the time that you've spent on it. So one important thing about me wanting to really dive into this episode is that there's been studies done around this, that if you end up consuming more than you share, you have a negative outlook on social media. But if you share more than you consume, you have a positive outlook on social media. So this is what's important. But whenever you are looking at, maybe you have some of those negative tendencies that I just shared, that you have that perfectionism, or that you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're triggered by others, or you in general find yourself in a mindless scroll too often. This is normally where somebody will say, okay, it's time for a social media break. I am not against social media breaks, but it's just like an elimination diet. Like when we get rid of our favorite foods and then we just we go cold turkey, we feel like someone is caging us from what we love, right? From what we want to do. So an elimination diet does not work time and again. So the same thing needs to apply to the way you use social media. So if you decide to take a break, reflect on how you want to use it differently when you come back. That is the long-term solution. But also, we're going to make sure that we are the ones that have control when we do this. For the record, this isn't easy. There are even some top TikTok creators who have admitted that they delete the app after they post each day, which, and it sounds so insane. It's so extreme to me to think that I'll post, I'll delete the app, I'll upload the app again, post the next day and do it. Like thinking about how much, just how crazy that might feel. It's almost like what, like the people who like throw out their Oreos when they bought them, or like how like why'd you buy them in the first place, or why are you like having this really tumultuous relationship with something that can be really great. So for you, I want you to design your healthy internet diet instead of gambling, our life's purpose by just scrolling the feeds and seeing what everyone else is doing. So I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can start to do this. So number 1, I want you to check in with the positive or negative charge of your feed. So what we are consuming absolutely can put a negative or positive spin on how we see the world. I once had a client who was feeling like so much fear and scarcity around her business. So we did that check-in of, okay, well, how's the launch plan going? How's your strategies? How's your mindset feeling? Do you feel like this offer's good? Do you feel like you're the leader to do it? We did that check-in first. She goes, yeah, I'm feeling all right. Those are okay. And then I came around to, okay, what you been watching lately? Because it was like we were stumped on what it could be. And she was like, oh, well, I've been binging true crime stories and that Jeffrey Dahmer show. I've been loving that. So she was feeling empowered by everything she was doing all day, but in the evenings she was watching murder and people, sorry, just even the thought of it still makes me laugh a little bit. She was watching murder stories. She was watching con artists. She was watching people who weren't truly who they say they were going to be. So of course, like this media was influencing her. So that's important. media influences us no matter what form. So that this can be an opportunity for you to not only look at your Netflix, to not only look at your Instagram, TikTok, email, but also just being able to realize, okay, how much media am I consuming and what is the charge of it? So this can also go for the news. And I feel like my journalism teachers are going to frown upon this, but do you really need to watch the 24-hour news channels? Do you really need to do that at all? Or can you just listen to a morning podcast? The Times does it. AP News does it. They have those short podcasts in the morning to be like, these are the stories you need to know, and allow that to be a part of it. Even too, there's many creators who I've talked to about this that say, if it's important enough news, you'll hear about it. You don't have to be always watching. And I actually even realized the negative charge of my own news consumption whenever I was so hyper focused during election time for election time when Biden and Trump were going up against each other. I was watching every piece of it and just feeling like the world was going to shit. Like I was feeling absolutely in the dumps, and it wasn't that I can fix what was going on. It was the fact that I was creating an environment of this negativity all around me. So this is where you take a good look at how positive is that charge, how negative is it? And of course, we can talk about unfollowing creators who, aren't exactly promoting the kind of world you want to be in. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But first and foremost, number one, check in. Is it a positive or negative charge in your day-to-day life of the media you're consuming? And then actively start to tilt it to the positive. Maybe you watch one episode of the Jeffrey Dahmer show. Maybe you move over to a podcast that gives you the top stories. Maybe you make sure your feed looks like the world you want to be a part of. We have that choice of how we decide to use these things. The next piece is that you want to design your online life and use. So if you don't create a routine, you'll be assigned one. If you don't create a purpose, you'll be assigned one. We all are having these things pushed on us unless we decide what it is. It's like looking at a day in your life and going, what the heck did I do today? Versus I hit all of the things that make me feel good today. There's two different ways. It's like rolling out of bed and starting work versus rolling out of bed, making yourself coffee, writing down what you want to do for the day, and then doing those things. It's going to feel different. So we're going to design the way in which you decide to use social media and the internet. So same thing goes. If you don't create the business and online presence that you desire, you'll be assigned one, usually by those brilliant engineers behind all of these apps. So this is where you want to get intentional about who you are, how you want to be represented, and who you want to have in your community. So here are some questions to ask yourself. How can social media be an uplifting experience for you? Think about what has to change or what you love about it already and double down on it. What kind of community do you want to create? You have the power to create exactly the community that you're looking for by how you post and how often you post. And then what do you want to feel like when you share? I can tell you when I decide to be silly and do a reel, or if I can't wait to share the kind of content, like I was saying at the top of the episode, of the things that I want to share, even though I'm like putting out more than I ever have. I love that I'm doing it. I want to do it all dang day. I'll do it all the time. So I want to design the way I use my online experience off of the things that are fulfilling first, off of creating connection first. And that is going to allow any bullshit algorithm to just, not bother me as much as it would if I didn't come in with that intention. So number two, take the moment, design your online life and how you plan to use it. Number three is I want you to fight tech with tech. So I'm not going to ignore the fact that yes, all of these internet apps and systems are attention traps. They're built that way. But these attention traps are also one of the best ways to connect with building wealth, leadership, and just simply opportunity of really changing the way the world works. You have that. You have that ability to influence. But instead of, blaming the algorithm that it's all bad, we're going to fight tech with tech. It's a really important piece here, is that anything we use is going to have a light and dark side. I'm asking you to, with intention, use social media light side. Use social media to inspire. So understanding that that doesn't mean that we don't see the bad things. We don't see the fact that people waste a lot of time on here or feel comparisonitis. It's not that we don't see it, but how can we instead lean into the positive side of it? So yes, instead of blaming the algorithm, let's fight tech with tech. So first and foremost, you have the opportunity to set your routine of when and how you use tech. So I don't think that this should be a surprise to any of you. Don't use tech within the first hour of your day or the last hour of your day. That's one good place to start. Another way to drop into it is if you're eating your lunch, if you're with friends, those are no tech zones. Like creating those boundaries simply can allow you to come into your day and the way you use that tech with more intention. I am absolutely somebody who will fall trap to scrolling before I go to bed. That's one of my things. But the difference between scrolling and going to bed and reading a book, talking to my fiance and going to bed is absolutely me being a calmer person. It's absolutely me feeling like I am a badass handling my life versus going, oh, the internet got me again. Right? So one, just be able to know that we can create those blocks. To do that, you can do that on your phones with the, like, for me, I have different versions of Do Not Disturb, and the bedtime app, it prevents me from getting into any of those apps before 9 o'clock or after 10 o'clock. I set that up within Apple's software. You can also do that on Android. I have clients who've shown me that you can do that. So you can, one, create the blocks of when those apps are allowed to be used. And then also this next one, set time limits. So if I go over, I believe I'm at 2 hours on Instagram or Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I have all three. If I go over 2 hours in the day on my phone of those, I get prompted, I get disrupted, and Apple goes, "You've reached your limit. So we're gonna block this app now." That is something that, while I know many of you are gonna be like, "Yeah, I just bypass it though. I just work my way through it." It does disrupt your behavior. At the end of the day, you know that you've gone over your limits, so you can take the moment to go, "Okay, hold up. I've gone over. I have the choice to continue, or I have the choice to just get up and not be looking at my phone for a little while." Instagram and TikTok specifically have also implemented those things within the app, and that can help you to be just aware. Awareness is always the first step to really making some habit change here. The next piece within that, though, is that when both of those things, like, it's really hard to bypass, I like to use this app called OneSec. So one and then SEC. It is an app that will, anytime I'm opening up certain apps that I've set up in there, it will ask me to take a deep breath. So it'll, and like, it will prevent me from seeing anything. A good 60 seconds of a deep breath. And then it's going to tell me to set an intention. So the intention is something I can put in, or it gives you options to say, I'm procrastinating, or I'm feeling anxious, or I'm bored. So you in general know why you're walking into the app. And then again, like I said, you can put an intention saying I'm creating, or I'm going live, or I'm answering my DMs. I have those intentions in there. And that will allow me to not just go into the app and go, why am I in here? Why did this begin? So what I love about this, and ever since I deployed this OneSec app, I've been doing it for about 3 months now, I have not hit my time limits on any of the apps since then. So I am so intentional when I'm in there. I even had a friend going, "Oh, I'd hate that. If people are DMing me," I'm like, "Yeah, I block off the time and DM just when I'm in there." and I get it all done in one swoop instead of like jumping back in and out and feeling that confetti brain. So one set can be so helpful there. But also, let's say I want to just block the apps. It's a hard block. Like I cannot put in my passcode or anything to try to get around around that time limit block. If I tell one sec, okay, I'm going to be focused for this amount of time, it will not let me through until the time is up. It's hard. It's a hard charge, but this is tech fighting tech. So number 3, don't ignore what you have access to. Fight tech with tech. The next one here is see triggers for what they really are. So this is the comparison-itis that might come up for especially entrepreneurs or any creators out there, is understanding when you're triggered by others, it can be one of 2 things. You want what they have and feel that you can't get it for some reason, or you think you could do it better. I had a client the other day going, I wish I had the same presence as another creator. And I was like, what is truly the problem? What is truly the thing that's making you feel as if you can't be that? And it was because she hadn't been posting as consistently lately. And that particular creator was posting once, twice a day, every day, all of the time. And then the second part of that was also she did not agree with the kind of guidance that she was that person was giving out. So both of those things are this trigger of like, I want to have a presence and I want to have a presence for good. So understand that triggers, while they can absolutely cause us to be in a bit of an anxious tailspin, it's important to be able to, process that stress. If you listened to the previous episode on time and energy management, use some of those brain boosting activities, right? But be able to witness what's really going on. So triggers can instead be an activating call for you to get back to the vision you're creating and what you want to share in the world. So if you're feeling triggered by people posting overly perfect things online, then you show the real deal. You show that the way in which you have your strengths and your struggle, that you are celebrating big wins, but also what it took to get there, the good and the bad. Be the other side of that coin. But within that too, if you are triggered by other people's success, understand that's a choice. Like if I'm triggered by somebody who's doing well in their business, I can take a 5-second breath and go, if she can do it, I can do it. I have that choice. If she's able to do it, I can do it. And I am going to do this weird thing. And instead of being triggered and swiping past, celebrating her, applauding what she's able to do, so that you can understand that not only if people are hitting big goals around you, or are going after this vision they have for their life around you, you have every right to be doing the same. But you just have to understand, how you can be inspired by them instead of deciding that you're not enough or you're not good enough to get there. So triggers can be really important ways to reflect, as well as decide what is your approach, so that you can feel like she does trigger me. I see that she's doing really well, but this activates me to elevate where I'm headed. And it's important for me to say this last one. If you also feel that someone is always preying on your insecurities, block that shit. There's a difference between being triggered and sitting in a toxic environment. So I gave you examples of allowing someone to trigger you to be activated. But if you find yourself just not able to process the stress around having a certain person or a certain creator or business in your feed, unfollow, block. Do not try to make good when things are just always making you feel bad about yourself. Don't even try to play with it. So number 4, see triggers for what they really are. Okay. All right. Number 5, and this last one, I want you to really lean into. I want you to celebrate the opportunity. Celebrate the opportunity that having the internet and social media has given you. Never before in the world can you promote your purpose and business like we do now. We have that opportunity now. Hell, not long ago, we took out ads in newspapers. Who's picked up a newspaper in a while? So there was not this free opportunity other than word of mouth, right? So now we can build in-person and online communities that make a difference, that make a change, that build wealth for you, that impact people for good. The way in which you use the internet, the social media can absolutely influence somebody else's life for the better. You have that opportunity. So the way that you post, the way that you share is a vote for the world you're creating. I'm going to say it again. The way you post and the way that you share is a vote for the world you're creating. Do you want that world to be more nourishing, more nutritious if you're a chef, more compassionate, more real, more more in general, connecting with others instead of siloed and competing with each other? You have the opportunity to change that by voting in the way that you post. How can you get energized by the opportunity of building and creating online more than ever before? If anything else, I want you to almost see social media and your internet presence as your first draft of the legacy that you want to leave behind. Like, I'm somebody who loves to read a good celebrity biography, but I realize all the time when I decide to get vulnerable and share pieces of my story that I'm just creating a first draft that some writer in the future is going to use as research for the book that they're going to create about me. So you have this opportunity to do all of these things. So one, I want you to understand that the more you can in this year switch this idea of consuming versus sharing to tilt more towards sharing, the more positive experience you're going to have online. So take let's scroll back and take a look at these 5 important things for creating a healthy internet diet. 1, check in with the positive or negative charge of your feed. Number 2, design your online life and use. Number 3, fight tech with tech. Number 4, see triggers for what they really are. And then finally, 5, celebrate the opportunity that you have. This is all about creating a stronger relationship with social media, a positive one. This is all about being that leader that you are and the creator that you are, and being able to see the tools as they truly are in front of you. This is being able to set boundaries and honor the vision that you're creating. This is what this is all about. So I gave you a lot of ways to think about this, but a lot of this is asking you to dive in deep, to think about how you feel. So I have created a 3-day immersion experience that I want you to know about. So it's called Social Wealth, WELLTH. So the 3-day experience is going to be all about identifying any of these self-sabotaging blocks that you might have, to design your relationship with social for good and for it to be more fulfilling, of course. And then, of course, to create wealth for your business by making a more positive impact with your brand. So if you, in general, have a little bit of trouble with any of these things, you feel like you're triggered, you have comparisonitis, you feel like you spend too much time on social, or in general, it's just a negative experience for you, consider Social Wealth. It is there for you. And I think it's going to be a really potent way to shift not only the way you see the internet, but also how big and beautiful of an impact we can all create together. So check in the show notes. If you want to join in, I would love to have you. It's been something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. So I'm really pumped about it. But let me know if you decide to jump into anything I shared today, and we'll talk soon.